Mackenzie Johnston with Livestock Digital Daily, bringing you your November 16th cattle industry headlines. Brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors. They help you manage your risk so you can manage your operation. With over 20 years of experience, Ag Risk Advisors provide honest and transparent advice. They offer insurance solutions that help you minimize risk and maximize profitability for your farming and ranching operations. They might not be able to make it rain, but they can sure ease the pain. If you want to learn more about pasture, range, land, forage insurance, go ahead and reach out to Ag Risk Advisors. They can help you understand what PRF insurance is all about and everything it can do for your operation. According to USA Today, a Wisconsin industrial cleaning company has been accused of illegally using child workers, including one who is only 13 years of age, to clean meat processing plants in both Minnesota and Nebraska. According to a civil complaint filed by the U.S. Labor Department, Packers Sanitation Services Incorporated, also known as PSSI, employed more than 30 children ages from 13 to 17 as cleaners at the JBS plant in Grand Island and the JBS plant in Worthington, Minnesota, and then also at Turkey Valley Farms in Marshall, Minnesota. Federal labor laws prohibit the use of workers under the age of 18 on kill floors or on mechanized processing equipment because the work is a federally designated hazardous occupation. According to the Labor Department, several of these underage workers were injured on the job, including a 13-year-old who was burned by caustic cleaning chemicals. PSSI is based in Cuyler, Wisconsin, and describes itself as a leading provider of food safety solutions. According to the company's website, they employ right around 17,000 people to provide cleaning and other services to more than 700 food processing plants. PSSI claims to have a zero tolerance policy against the employment of anyone under the age of 18. In a statement, the company suggested that underage workers may have misrepresented their ages in order to gain employment. The company claims to be cooperating with investigators, but last week a federal judge ordered the company to preserve documents and not to influence workers to not cooperate with the Labor Department investigators. That order was brought about after the Labor Department claimed PSSI underage employees had been intimidated to discourage them from cooperating with investigators, and at least one employee deleted or manipulated employment records. This update is also sponsored by Circle 5 Cow School. If you want to learn how to preg check your own cows or start AIing, Circle 5 Cow School is definitely the way to go. Almost every week they're hosting classes somewhere between Texas and Tennessee. If you want to check out their schedule, head on over to circle5cowschool.com. That is the number 5 in there, or you can go ahead and just give them a follow on Facebook. Drovers has reported last week cattle feeders saw average profits of $222 per head as the 5-area direct cash price advanced to $153.35 per hundredweight, according to the Sterling Beef Profit Tracker. Last week's average profits were the highest cattle feeders have seen since the last week of April, when profits averaged $252 per head. But the difference now versus back in April is the cost associated with finishing cattle. Cattle sold last week carried a total feed cost of $581 per head. That's up 21% from the $458 per head feed cost for cattle sold the last week of April, again, when cattle feeders were making pretty good margins. The estimated total cost for finishing a steer last week was $1,925 per head, up 8% from last year's estimate of $1,778 per head. Estimated beef packer margins last week were $66 per head, down $4 from the week before, but down 90% from last year at this time, when they were making right around $633 per head. Another sponsor for this update, Open Country LLC. Dan McMartin, he is the owner and operator of Open Country. He has geared his business around making farmers and ranchers' lives more efficient and profitable. If you were looking for any kind of livestock equipment, he has it. He has all the big name brands, and if he doesn't have it, he can sure get it for you. If you want to learn more about Open Country, head on over to www.opencountrylllc.com. Drovers has also reported last week President Biden announced the U.S. will implement measures to further decrease methane emissions by 2030. These measures will build on the Methane Emissions Reduction Action Plan. So according to the EPA, these new proposals would collectively reduce 36 million tons of methane emissions between 2023 and 2035. The measures announced by Biden last week at a conference when he was in Egypt would tighten regulations on the oil and gas industry in order to cut emissions by 87%, up from the proposed 74% announced back in 2021. According to Biden, with the war in Ukraine, it's more important than ever for the U.S. to double down on its climate commitments. Russia's war only enhances the urgency of the need to transition the world off of its dependence on fossil fuels, said Biden. He believes the U.S. needs to do our part to avoid a climate hell brought on by fossil fuels. So, as we all know, not only does our country run on fossil fuels, the world runs on fossil fuels. I understand the need to implement other forms of energy. Sure, if we have the ability to implement wind, solar energy, everything has its own place. But if you think the majority of our energy here in the country can run off of green energy, you are not in touch with reality in any way. All these proposals are doing, all these proposals, these green proposals that Biden and so many other Democrats are pushing, all they're gonna do is just make energy costs higher for you and I. It's just gonna make living expenses even higher for you and I, if you can fathom that. All of this green energy agenda, it is just a pipe dream. Sure, in theory, it might sound great, but in actual reality, when you actually implement it, it is a bad thing for our country. That is all I have for you guys today. I hope everyone's week is rolling right along. I will catch you on Friday morning.